Well, hello, my fabulous fifth graders. We certainly had a lot of snow days this week and late starts, so I thought we could review rounding decimals. We are going to need a piece of paper and a pencil. I'm going to have you make a 4x4 grid here with the title Rounding Decimals. I'm only going to have you do 3 problems. Now remember, what you put into it is what you get out of it. So you can just watch the video, but you really will get more of an impact or remember more if you actually take the time and just kind of scratch this down. It doesn't have to be on a full sheet of paper. It doesn't have to be with a pencil if you only have a pen. Just grab something to write it down. So we're going to have this grid. You're making 4 columns down and 4 rows across. And over here on the side, we're going to put numbers. We're going to round to ones place value, the tenths place value, and the hundredths place value. So these are the items I have here. You don't really need numbers, but I wanted to make sure you had it at the option of having it labeled. The first number we're going to do is 34 and 256 thousandths. All the numbers we're going to do are going to go to the thousandths place because we are rounding to the hundredths, right? So we need something to round to. All right, so we're going to write this down, and then below in each block, you're going to write, well, what is it rounded to the ones place? What is that number? And then down below here, what is it rounded to the tenths place and hundredths place? You get the idea? All right, so our next number, can you say it? Read it to yourself. Good. 26 and 807 thousandths. Very good. All right, and then the last number that we're going to do is 15 and, 954 thousandths. Good job. Okay, so these are the numbers we're going to work with. I would like for you to write them down. If you are confident in doing your rounding with decimals, solve them all, and then come back to the video and see if you got it right. If you're not, I really would like you to try at least to do the first one, the 34 and 25 or 256 thousandths. Go through, try to do it rounded to the ones, tenths, then hundredths, and then come back to the video. So please stop, do your best, and then come back. Okay, great. So I hope you guys have your at least this one column done here so we can check our answers. Now I'm going to show you 2 ways of rounding these decimals. The first one is using a number line, and it kind of really gives us a visual of what we're doing when we're rounding. So we're rounding to the ones place. So this is a whole number that we're looking at. So I start my number line with 34 because I'm either going to go to 34 or I'm going to go up to 35. Remember, that place value is only going to stay the same or go up. It does not go down. All right, so we have 34 and 35. What's it between 34 and 35 that I could put on this number line to help me out? Yep, 34 and a half, right? Or 34 and 5 tenths. Good. All right, so we're looking at next to the ones place, at the tenths place. So we know where to put this. And on this one, we have a 2 in the tenths place. Excellent. So now I can know where I'm going to put it. This is 34. This would be 34 and 1/10, 34 and 2/10, and then I have the 256 thousandths. That 56 kind of puts it over here in between the 2/10 and 3/10. Excellent. So is this closer to 34 or is it closer to 35? Good. Yeah, that's right. It's closer to 34. All right, now to do it on a place value chart that we have. So here's one of our place value charts that we use a lot. And I'm just going to insert the numbers where they are, line them up with the decimal point. So we know we have our 3 in the tens, 4 in the ones, 2 tenths, 5 hundredths, 6 thousandths. Again, we're looking at the ones place value. We want to identify it, then look next door. That's it. The 5 and 6 we don't care about. We only care about what's going on right in the next place value over. So that is a 2. 2 is less than 5, so nothing happens. We just get rid of them, and we have our 34. All right, now, is that what you have on yours? Good. Let's move on. Tenths place. Now, we're looking at the tenths place. We have a 2 here, so I have 34 and 2/10, or it's going to go up to 34 and 3/10. What's in between? It's kind of hard to tell. So let's make this 34 and 20 hundredths and 34 and 30 hundredths. I didn't change the value of it. I just changed the name of what we call it by putting in those zeros in the hundreds places. But now it's a lot easier to see what's in between 20 hundredths and 30 hundredths. Well, that's 25 hundredths. You guys got that. So we have 34 and 25 hundredths. That's our midpoint. So now we can mark it. Hey, look, we have 25 hundredths in our number. And then we have 6 thousandths. So we know our answer, or this is going to be placed in between our 34 and 25 hundredths and our 34 and 26 hundredths. So it's going to go right over there. Yep, marking that hundredths place. So we have it here, and it is closer to, yep, 34 and 30 hundredths, or 34 and 3/10. Now let's write it on our place value chart so we can look at it. Identify the tenths place. Look next door. We have a 5. That 5 is going to push that 2 up and make a 3. And then we just get rid of these numbers, because remember, we're going to this place value, so we don't want anything afterwards. If you want to put zeros there, that's absolutely fine. It works. But I have 34 and 3/10. Wrote it on my chart. How you guys doing so far? Good? Thumbs up? Awesome. All right, let's look at hundredths. So in the hundredths place value, we have that 5 we talked about, right? So it will be either 34 and 25 hundredths, or it's going to go up to be 34 and 26 hundredths, okay? And what determines it? That little thousands place next door. So we need to kind of look at it in that manner with 250 thousandths versus 260 thousandths. All right, so we have 256 thousandths. Well, if we go in the middle of 250 thousandths and 260 thousandths, we have 255 thousandths, right? So we have 34 and 255 thousandths. This is 56. It's going to land right next to it, right? Okay, so that 6 shows us it's the next marker. It's in between. As soon as it hits 5 or more, remember, it rounds up. So we have this in our rounding for place values to the hundreds. So let's write it on our place value chart just to double check. We have our 34 and 256 thousandths. We identify the hundreds place, look next door, and it pushes the number up to make it a 6. We get rid of our thousandths number and we write it as 34 and 26 hundredths. I got that in there. How'd you do in the first column? Pretty good? All right, so this is a good point. If you did not do well, or you only did the first column, go ahead and try to do the other 2 numbers now that you've gotten a review of how to do them. And then come back and see how you did, all right? If you just want to take it one other number at a time, that's absolutely fine. But remember, do your best. It's always a learning process, okay? We're all at different spots. So let's go for it. Do you have a chance to do it? Okay. 26 and 807 thousandths. Rounding to the ones place, we're looking at this whole number, this 26. So it's either going to be 26 or 27. Let's go in the middle. We got 26 and a half or 26 and 5/10. This is 26 and 8/10. So I know it's going to go 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, and then I have just a little bit more. So it will be really close to my exact 8/10. And I have it here. Ooh, that's really close to my 27. So I know I'm going to bump it up to 27. All right, let's put it in our place value chart and see if it works. We have our numbers in the correct spots. We are identifying the ones place value. We look to the right. The 8 is 5 or more. Definitely pushes that 6 up to a 7. We get rid of the rest of the numbers and we have 27. All right, let's go to the tenths. We're looking at that tenths place value. As we do, we see that it's going to be 26 and 8/10, or it's going to be 26 and 9/10. What's in the middle between 8/10 and 9/10? Well, let's make it 80 hundredths and 90 hundredths. And then, it's a lot easier, 85 hundredths, right? So we have 26 and 85 hundredths. This is 26 and 80 hundredths, right? So I know it's going to be really close to my starting point because I have that 0 there. And so I'm going to mark it as 26 and 807 thousandths. It's almost to 81 hundredths, so it's right about there. And guess what? That shows me it's super close to my 26 and 8/10ths. Excellent. Let's write it on a number chart. Putting in our numbers, our 26 are 807 thousandths. You gotta kind of space them out here. Okay, so we go to the tenths place. Identify it. Look next door. It's a 0, right? That 0 is definitely not going to push that 8 over. It's just going to stay the same. But remember, you got to get rid of these. And a big thing, guys, remember, we want to keep our 10s and 1s here. Don't go broke getting rid of those numbers in front of it and just putting the 8 down. We want to make sure we have the full number, 26 and 8/10. Excellent. All right, hundredths, almost done with this number. Looking at the hundredths place value, it is a 0. So we have 26 and 80 hundredths, or it's going to be 26 and 81 hundredths. What's in the middle? Well, it's easier if we make these thousandths, right? 26 and 800 thousandths and 26 and 810 thousandths. So the midpoint between 800 and 810 is 805, right? So we have 26 and 805 thousandths. Now it makes it super easy for me to mark my 807 thousandths. I look at that 7 and I know that this is 5, so this is going to be 806 thousandths, 807 thousandths. So I have my 26 and 807 thousandths. It lands in between my 5 and my 10, or it's in that group area, which means it's going to round up to 26 and 81 hundredths. All right, let's write it. Love these place value charts. It makes it so easy. Identify your hundreds place. Look next door. 7 is more than 5, so it's going to bump that 0 up to a 1. And then we just get rid of the 7. Okay, it's kind of like it used all its power to push it over. And now we just have 26 and 81 hundredths. Fabulous. We're on to the last number. I hope you feel more confident about doing these. Please definitely stop it and go ahead and do this problem all on your own. You got this. You know you can do it. If you're still making a few mistakes, it's okay. Just let me know how you did. All right? Come back when you are ready so we can go. Let's go. 15 and 954 thousandths. We're going to that ones place. So we have 15 versus 16. Where will it land? Well, what's in the middle? We got 15 and 5/10ths, right? 15 and a half. And I have up here, we know that this is 15 and 9/10ths. 9/10ths is way up here, right? It's going to be really close to my 16. So it shows that we round up to 16. Let's do it on a place value chart and see if we get the same answer. We should, right? So we have 15 and 954 thousandths on our place value chart. We identify the ones place. Look next door. That's a 9. 9 is definitely more than 5. It's going to push that 5 up to a 6. We get rid of these other numbers and we have 16. Fabulous. Write it in your spot. Check it, right? It should already be written. Now, let's do it on our number line. Let's go to the tenths. So now we're looking at this 9. This is where things get a little bit tricky. So we have 15 and 9/10ths. Oh, I already made it 90 hundredths. All right, so we can compare that. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this 16 hundredths. Okay, so you know this is going from 90 to another dollar. Okay, thinking of it as money, and it's just another dime. So if you have 15 and 90 cents, you want to round up just with that other dime and make it $16. So in between each of these is going to be, you guessed it, 95, right? So 15 and 95 hundredths. Hey, look, it's in the number itself. We just have this little 4 thousandths in here. So I know it's going to be just after my 95. And I put it in here. So I have my 15 and 954 thousandths. And you can see that it is going to round up to 16. How is that going to work? Well, if we look at it on our place value chart, you can see that we put in the numbers, or our digits in each place value chart, and the 9 is in the tenths place, right? We look next door to the 5. We know that it pushes it up. So what's more than 9? Well, 10. Remember, we can only have one digit per place value. So the 0 takes over for the 9, and the 1 gets bumped up and we have 1 in with the ones place. We add the 1 and 5 together, we get rid of these back numbers, and we have 16. Okay, so remember that 9 gets bumped up to a 10, the 1 has to be added to the 5, and you get your 6. All right, so we have 16 in both of these that it will round to. Now I put a 0 at the end. You don't have to, but I wanted to make sure that I remembered that I did round to the 10th place, and so I have it marked on here. Now we're going to do hundredths. Let's look at our hundredths. We have a 5 in there, so it's going to be 15 and 95 hundredths versus 15 and 96 hundredths. I already put the middle one in there. We have our 955, so maybe make this 950 and make this one 960 so we could see. Yep, that's how I got it. And 954 is just less than 955, so I'm going to mark it on my scale, and it goes right here. It is in between, it is less than 5, right? So it's going in this lower half, and it's going to round down. Okay, so as soon as it hits that halfway point, it goes up, but it's not there yet, so it goes down to 15 and 95 hundredths. And the only reason we say down is because we're getting rid of this 4, and it is making the number less. Okay, all right, so let's look at it on a place value chart. We have them all written in. Identify the hundredths place, look next door. It's just 4. It's not going to do anything to that number, so we just get rid of it and leave our number the same, 15 95 hundredths. Well, I hope you guys had fun doing this. I can't wait to see your papers and see any questions or anything that you have, and maybe we'll get some more snow. Winter's just started. Have a great weekend. All my best.